You wearing your Demoro outfit? Uh, Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for coming out today. I'm Mitchell Etess. For those of you who don't know me, CEO of the MTGA and Connecticut Sun, and this is a very, very exciting day for us and for the Connecticut Sun. I'm ultimately going to turn things over to the folks on my right. I don't really want to talk that long, but I've been put in charge of the formalities. So we're all going to talk, and then ultimately we're going to open the floor for questions. We only ask, since Coach is not familiar with everybody quite yet, if you just say where you're from, and so you can identify yourself for Coach Donovan, that would be great. And I just want to say, you know, when we began our coaching search, there was one name that was at the top of the list the whole time. We weren't certain or had any idea if it would be someone who would be available for us, but it was someone who we wanted to bring here and we thought would be the right person, and that is Donovan. And we were very excited about the fact that we've been able to bring that to fruition. So I'll turn it over to Chris and then eventually Coach, and then we'll hear from everybody.
Thank you, Mitchell. As Mitchell said, we're thrilled today. It's the easiest way to put it. This is very exciting. Change is always difficult, but we're moving forward for the future. And our objective is very clear, and that's to win championships. And we thought we needed a new voice, and this is the direction that we headed. Mitchell had asked for a short list of folks, and as he had said, there was one name at the top the entire time. But, you know, as we were joking around at lunch, we only do this once a decade, so we took our time in trying to make sure that we had the right candidates. So we had a lot of people come up to the plate. We took our time vetting those candidates, meeting with them, speaking with them, and then in very short order, we were able to put together something with Ann, and again, she's here. We're extremely thrilled. All of you already know her qualifications. She's won at every level as a player and as a coach, and we think that says a lot about our program, that she'd want to come back here and help lead this team to a championship. So without further ado, let me please introduce Ann Donovan.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody. It's great to be here. You know, as you can imagine, when a coach talks about coaching basketball in Connecticut, you get pretty fired up. And it wasn't long after I met with Mitchell and Chris that I really grew, not just to believe in basketball in Connecticut, but that the reason that the Connecticut Sun franchise has been so successful and such a premier franchise in the WNBA became very clear. Teams don't win at the professional level, or are not successful at the professional level, unless you have great leadership, and that clearly is the case here with Connecticut. So in speaking with these two gentlemen early on, and different players and coaches throughout the league, we've always had tremendous respect for what Connecticut Sun has accomplished. The winning tradition that's here, it makes it the premier franchise in the WNBA. So becoming a part of this franchise is a tremendous honor for me. I'm very excited about this, grateful for the opportunity to continue the successes that have been laid before me, and really look forward to taking the next step into titles and championships. And you know, you look at this roster, the talent, the depth, MVP, sixth man, Olympians, some of whom I've had the pleasure of working with before and some who I've not, but all of whom I'm very much looking forward to get to know in this process. So very happy to be here. Thank you for coming. And I welcome questions and the opportunity to get to know you better as well. Oh, I think for me, pressure is something I enjoy. It's something that I think if you're in coaching, you better enjoy it, and you better step to the plate, or else you're not in the right situation. So I think there's always pressure internally from me, no matter what position I'm in. At the same time, there's tremendous confidence with my background and my experience, and having won a WNBA championship, having some idea of what it takes. I'm respectful that you can line all the ducks up, and then one duck can fall aside, and things can go awry. And it's my job to make sure that we keep the ducks lined up and march down that championship road. So it excites me. The challenge and the pressure excites me. And Mark. Well, Obviously this team is not far off. Just look at the track record and the successes that they've had. So I haven't had much of an opportunity to get to know the girls yet. So I can probably better answer that question as we get further along. But what I can tell you is it's not far off, and that I believe with maybe a different voice and different experiences and hopefully a different mindset will help. Hi, Jim. Yeah, great question, Jim. When I took the job at Seton Hall, I really thought at that time that was going to be my next and my last stop. But when you talk about Connecticut Sun and you talk about basketball here at the Mohegan Sun, it just, at this roster, this leadership, it's just an opportunity that's too exciting to pass up. And so at that point in time, I thought Seton Hall was it. But I have to tell you, I'm very excited that the path has changed and that there are new challenges ahead. And look forward to this opportunity very much. Hey, John. It is interesting, and ironic, I think, if you will, that it is in reverse. It's always hard to leave a team. It's felt the same way with the Liberty when I left that team to take on Seton Hall. But the beauty of basketball in my life has been relationships. It's the core of this game. And I carried those relationships with the Liberty players to this day. Still keep in touch with Cappy and Lay and all those players. And I'm sure when I leave Seton Hall at the end of the season, I'll carry those relationships on as well. I met with the team this morning, and thanks to all of you guys doing your diligent homework and through social media, they had the information before I could give it to them. And so it was quite emotional this morning, to be honest. We had a very emotional team meeting, but this is life, and we'll work through it together. I know part of the timing for this that Connecticut agreed upon and Seton Hall did as well was, just making sure that we had the information, they could process it, and then when we take on Pitt Saturday for our first Big East game, that we can refocus, rechannel, and hopefully accomplish some of our goals. I honestly don't think so. I have just a great mutual respect for them as they do for us and our staff, and they're competitive first and foremost. So when the jump balls goes up, we're all after a win. And again, there's too much love there at Seton Hall that's mutual from them to me and from me to them, that I think we know we're going to battle to the end and leave it all out there.
If I may, I think that was a very important thing. Ann wanted to continue the season and finish it out. She did not want to jump ship. That was not in the best interest of her student athletes. And we completely agreed with that because we understand that we can work on our objectives going forward. But it was very important for Ann to finish out at Seton Hall for her and for the student athletes.
Hey, Carl. Great question. I don't. I had to tell you, I signed a 5-year contract at Seton Hall, and my goal was to go there, and understanding the challenge was steep at Seton Hall. I knew full well going into that job how hard it was going to be, but the progress has been made, and I know for sure I've left the program in better shape. So difficult job, just as difficult as I thought going in. And I'm disappointed, truthfully, that I'm not going to finish that process, but I do know that the next person taking over is getting a program that's well on its way. This was a pretty rapid process, so it's just been in the last couple of weeks that we've spoken several times and reached an agreement here. And yes, I have reached out to a couple of the players, and I'm in the process in the next couple of days. I hope to have talked to everybody on the roster. not sure I understand your question exactly. Can you? Where have used that in my past was when I left Seattle. I coached Seattle 5 years. Won a championship with Seattle, and at the end of my tenure at Seattle, I was, juggling the Olympic team and staying there to win another championship. And I felt like at that point in time, it was in my best interest and Seattle's best interest for them maybe to have a new voice. So that's where I've used that term myself before. And I think, in my case, I can't speak in Mike's case or in Connecticut's case, but in my case, it was just about a freshness. And maybe, we had reached some goals at Seattle that our roster, it was time for the roster to turn over a little bit. It was time for a new voice to be heard in practices and to reiterate maybe even the same goals, but just a different way of phrasing it, a different tone to it. So I can only speak to what happened in Seattle, and I felt sure that that was the right decision for both myself at that time and the Seattle Storm, and I think it worked out for both of us. It is probably the single most perplexing profession in that regard. But I think we all have a very good understanding of what this profession entails. And Mike called me last night. When Mike left Connecticut, I called Mike, at that point in time, having no idea what was going to be my future. Trudy Lacey, when Trudy Lacey left Washington, I don't think there was any animosity when Mike stepped in. So I think fortunately and unfortunately, it's just the nature of this business. And I do think that I have tremendous respect for Mike for all he's done as a person, as a man, as a father, as a coach. And that will remain, obviously. I expect that we will work together in all those decisions, and Chris and I have talked a lot about that. So I would imagine it's going to be a lot of partnership in those decisions as it was with Mike. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you on both accounts. In Seattle, we went through restructuring and trying to, find the pieces that would fit around Lauren, Jackson, and Sue Bird to build that championship team. And Connecticut is in a different place. Connecticut has a very healthy, successful history of winning. The tradition here is winning. So it's going to be a much different thought process, I think, than it was in Seattle. Number one thing is you've got to have winners. You've got to have players that know they can win, that know how to win. I think experience and veteran leadership is very important, which is also reflected on this roster. So I don't expect that there'll be dramatic changes. But again, I haven't had my hands in there yet. Having been in the WNBA for 10 years and at Seton Hall for 2.5, certainly my focus has been at the college level. But I don't think, when you love the game like I do and you've been passionate and won a championship in the WNBA, you don't just leave the WNBA and not look back. So I'm very familiar with what's going on, and we'll spend time making sure I'm completely up to snuff. 1'6'8" woman for another, I don't know. Where are you, Rich? Okay, yeah. I think it is, absolutely. You know, it's, you carry your philosophy. I think all of us as coaches carry our philosophy from place to place. But you have to make sure you have the right pieces for that system, to your point. And so there is with every job, you know, whether it was going back to Seton Hall, it's still the similar system, what I'm used to running, but it's got to be obviously adjusted for different levels, different talent. What's better than UConn players, truthfully? Very soon, you know, and I'm already in conversations with several people, so we're hoping that that happens very soon. I look forward to getting to know you guys, and I know you know this, but there's no better place for women's basketball than in this state, and you guys are such a big part of that. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you more, and for you seeing a different voice to your question, and this is going to be fun.
We're excited. Thank you. Can we take a picture with us? Yeah.
Yeah.